that we can. So this seems to be the best. All right, Kuna, thank you so much. We didn't need to hear all that anyways. That's good. So I just want to set the table a little bit for this first session before we go on. I believe for the next few sessions, for the next however many sessions we're together, we're planning around 12. What we're going to do is prepare and dine a spiritual meal together and prepare it with a motive that we're going to feed others with it. Because in this program, my experience has been that God's flow and love and energy has to flow through me into the lives of others. That's how I get nourished. That's how I experience bliss in this moment. You know, if it's any other way, if it is any other motive other than pass it on to someone else, be of service, so for some reason my ego takes a hold of it, and it just it's not a fun process or a fun time. So we're gonna, before we do that, we're gonna dine the spiritual meal together and prepare it together. I want to set the table a little bit, if it's okay with you guys. By the way, you guys can hear me okay? A wave, yeah? Okay, good, okay. I want to set the table. First of all, I want to say this right off the bat. I am the least favorite and comfortable thing for me to do is to do a workshop. I never do workshops like this ever, right? I just the reason for that is I don't ever want to come across as I'm teaching anybody or telling anybody what to do. So please, I hope that comes across in the spirit, in my spirit as we're going through this, because I'm not here to teach anybody. I'm not here to tell you what to do. What I'm here to do is just share with you my experience. Having said that, so when I approach, I believe when we approach it this way, everyone's experience becomes valuable. No one's better than anyone else, right? God uses everybody in different ways, and I believe that the people that are in this workshop, we all share something. We're all seekers and servants, right? Because of the Step 12 kind of sponsorship workshop. So please, if I ever say anything that's contrary to your belief systems, I don't ask you to believe it at all. What I ask you to do is just set what you believe aside for the duration of this process. That's all. So I guess it's a good time to talk about the set aside prayer. So I think that how to get the most out of any new endeavor, that any new spiritual process, anything new that I try, is to set aside everything that I know and everything that I think I know and my past experiences. Because for me, all those things seem to be in the way of me having a new experience. Mark Houston, God bless his soul, he used to say, what I think I know, my past experiences are noose around my neck. They stop me from having a new experience. Now, that doesn't invalidate, is that anyone's experience at all, your experiences, to set it aside. All we're saying is that to have a new experience, just please put your own experience on the shelf right now and then see what occurs. Okay, this is it's like when I want to drink a fresh cup of coffee, right? I'm not going to take yesterday's coffee and bring it into the freshly brewed pot. It doesn't make sense, and pour it on top. Okay, what I do is I pour out the coffee, wash it out, and bring a clean, empty cup. That's how I always want to approach every new spiritual endeavor, any situation in life that I'm trying to grow from. Bring an empty cup to God. Let Him fill me with whatever He thinks that I need at that time. Now, you may say, my coffee is not old. And I don't, it still tastes good, and that's perfectly fine. So let's just think about it this way, okay? So you have an amazingly brewed, fresh cup of coffee of experience of, I'm going to make something up, of Brazilian coffee, okay? But we're in a workshop to perhaps try some Colombian coffee, just as freshly brewed as yours, right? In order to try the Colombian coffee, you're going to have to pour out the Brazilian coffee just for this workshop. Okay, maybe if you want to think about it that way. So set aside prayer. How the set aside prayer came about, just quickly, Don Pritz, I'm sure many people know or heard of Don Pritz. He was a giant in Alcoholics Anonymous. He had a sponsee by the name of Joe Hawk, apparently the story goes. And Joe was a learned man. He had many degrees in addiction, and he couldn't stay sober for 10 years or so. He was in and out. He asked Don to sponsor him, and apparently every time Don Pritz would meet Joe had he knew a lot about the psychology and the biology of alcohols and about the big book. And Don said to him in not so many words, Joe, I suggest you set aside everything you think you know, because you know enough about alcoholism to kill yourself and many others. So if you want to have a new experience, set everything aside. So Joe did that, and then he made that into a prayer. And apparently that's how the prayer has been passed on to many different generations and lineages. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to do a version of the set aside prayer. By the way, the words don't really matter, the exact words. I always want to stay away from rigidity. I got to wear this world like a loose garment, and whatever is on your heart, as long as we voice the idea. So I'll do it today. Maybe from next week, we'll get other people to do it. Father, thank you for bringing us here in brotherhood, sisterhood, and love under one spirit, under your spirit. Please set aside from us everything that we know, everything that we think we know on our past experiences, so we can have an open mind and a new experience with you, with these steps, with each other, and the process of being a servant. Amen. All right, set aside prayer. Beautiful. So we covered that. I got some notes here. So just quickly, how this, little bit about, again, I'm still setting the table. We're going to jump right in, okay? We're going to go through with velocity, hopefully, depending, right? So just briefly, how this workshop came about and a little bit of my experiences, that's all, okay? Just briefly. So so for the past 4 years of the pandemic, we've just been really blessed at the Fellowship of the Spirit Toronto conference online workshop. We've done a lot of online workshops and conferences and everything. It's just been a blessing. And I want everyone to know that all those workshops, they were strong intuitive thoughts that came from meditation. And for a while, I didn't want to answer it. And then it gets really loud and you can't answer it. You cannot not answer it, right? So this thing of doing this particular workshop has been knocking on my door for about a few years. I just didn't want to answer it for different reasons, right? And it just got really, really loud. And I was talking with my friend Alice, and I said to her, listen, this idea I have, I think it may be really beneficial, may be able to serve people. What do you think? And then she really liked it, and she said, you know what, I think I would love to come. I benefit from it. I said, okay, so that's how it started. Okay. So I truly believe that this step, sponsoring, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried, not perfectly, not 1,000 sponsees. I tried to pass this message on to other alcoholics and practice principles in our affairs. So what we're doing is passing this message on to other alcoholics. I believe this step, the 12th step, and this in particular, is what gives my life meaning and purpose. I live a juicy life today because of this step. There's been a lot of trials and tribulations in my life that I would not have survived if it wasn't for this step, for trying to pass this message on. I was at 3 months sober when I started to sponsor people in this way. And I know that's not everyone's experience, and that doesn't have to be. I was in and out for 7 years, and I think the elders around me, my sponsor at that time, I think maybe they had a private meeting together, and they said, this kid better pass something on or else he's going to die. He's sicker than most. I think maybe that's what happened. So my sponsor at the time came to me and said, you got to pass this message on. And I argued with her because I was scared. I was afraid. I know maybe there may be some friends on this call right now that may be younger in sobriety, and maybe your sponsor has told you it's time to pass this message on. I was afraid. I thought I'm not good enough. And I was reminded that I'm not going to be doing anything. I have tapped into a power. All I got to do is exactly what was done with me. So my sponsor at the time, at 3 months sober, I love her. She's still on my life. She's not my sponsor anymore. Donna, a native Indian lady, she had about 9 years sober, and her experience was that she was taken through the big book from the preface to page 164. And if you haven't had the big book experience yet, I'm so grateful that you're here. Buckle up, man. It's something. It's powerful. It's powerful. So Donna was taken that way, and she's just man, she's a servant. She sponsored so many people, and her experience she started to experience that she's losing people in this process because it's taking so long for some, right? So then she went to different conferences, sought out archivists, read up on history books, did all kinds of stuff, and then she sort of prayer, meditation, contemplation. She came up with a method. It's still in the big book, right? Where it's more efficient, especially the first couple of steps, because the first step covers 50 something pages. There's a lot in there, right? So she passed that on to me, and I woke up. I was set on fire at within, at 3 months I started to sponsor people. So going back to the sponsorship, and she asked me to sponsor and start to pass this message on, and I argue with her, and she pointed out to me that if Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith had run some rule written in stone that we have to have 1 year to start passing these 12 steps on, we would all be dead. There would be no Alcoholics Anonymous, maybe, Now, and obviously, like I understand. At that time, there was no other choice. Everyone's short-term in sobriety, young in sobriety, right? And these days, we have so many amazing, beautiful, long-timers, some of whom are on this call, who I admire, who I want what they have, I admire them so much. And may not be a space as much as it was back then for people younger in sobriety to start to pass this message on in this way, right? So, I was, reminded of how this thing started, that it didn't start because Bill Wilson had an agenda to keep people sober, right? He tried that for the first 6 months. He failed. He stayed sober, but the language of love didn't start. At about 6 months sobriety, as we all know, right? He's in a Mayflower hotel, back and forth, pacing. The drink calls him. And then the spirit turns his gaze to the phone directory. And then few phone calls here and there. It was supposed to be a 15-minute conversation at 6 months sober. Turned out to be 6 hours. And the language of love started. And the waves of the language of love are traveling, almost 89 years later with us. And we're riding it right now in our lives, in this workshop. Because that's what we're trying to do. They were all young in sobriety. So the first person that I sponsored, I had... this way, I had at that time 3 months. Ramsey had 16 months. He knew me in and out of the program for 7 years, and people saw such a transformation in me. And he came to me and said, Ali, you talk about going through the big book, the steps that's outlined in the big book. I've never had that experience. I've had other experiences, but whatever you're talking about, can you help me with that? And I reminded him that you're sober almost 2 years. He said, I don't care. Can you help me? I said, okay. So I would go to this man's condo. I would take the subway and bus all the way downtown Toronto 3 days a week, scared shaking, sort of, nervous in the elevator right up. And I would pray. I would open up the big book and I would just do exactly what was done with me. The most beautiful thing, what I was taught is that I don't have to duplicate the messenger. That's a really difficult thing to do. All I got to do is duplicate the message. So I just follow the black on the white, highlight this, ask yourself this, and then all of a sudden, when I saw Ramsey's eyes light up, when I saw this man transform, I was like, holy moly, this thing really works, right? So Ramsey went out to sponsor a bunch of people, and then I went to a men's shelter a few months down the road, and I was set up a meeting over there, and I would read 3 pages from the big book. And these men, I guess they trusted my shorter time in sobriety, not the validity of it, the tangibility of it. When you knew, like 6 months, you said, okay, maybe I can get 5 months, 4 months, but 30 years, sometimes, like, what are you talking about? Right? That's like a different universe, right? So I would go and back, go every week saying the same thing. I'm sober. I'm happy most of the time. At 4 or 5 months of sobriety, these men started to trust me. They would come to me after the meeting. Ali, can you help us? Whatever it is you've been doing with this big book you talk about, 12 steps. Sure, I can. I would make appointments in the cafeteria and the coffee shops. Go through the big, right? Through the years, we're gonna start soon. Okay, we have to. Through the years, I've had the blessing of sponsoring, attempting to sponsor the 12 steps in this way, many men. I could tell you, it's blown my mind the transformations that I'm able to witness. As many of you are, as many of you are. And through the years, the Spirit has called me to try many different methods of going through the big book. Many different methods. I love some of the methods, like the Big Book Awakening. There's so many, right? And I want everyone to know that this today is a combination spiritual evolution, what the Spirit has presented to me over the last 12 years of sponsoring people. Right? So I remember my original sponsor, Donna, she had 5 highlighters and this and that. So this has become even more efficient. There's only 2 highlighters and a lot less notes. And we're going to move through laser-like, especially through the first few steps. Okay. So if you guys, if some friends are here thinking that, some workshops, like big book workshops, we go there and just people that I just want to sit at their feet and just listen to them. I just love them. I admire them so much. They break down a paragraph for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and those are all interesting. They're beautiful. They're spiritual food. I love them, but this is not what this is going to be. So the mindset is always, I'm taking a new man through the steps. Right? So we want to move quickly through it. There's no need to unpack everything to 1,000-kilometer depth. You know what I mean? What will happen is that, so I guess we could talk about this last thing before we get on, is we start. So how to get the most from this workshop? This is just some of my thoughts that came on my heart, right? First thing is to set aside everything that I think I know. That's the first. Just bring an open cup to this. See what God, right? Wants to fill me with. Second thing is make everything personal to you. Like what I mean is that we're going to read statements and turn some of them into questions with a question mark. Do I relate to that? Did I used to be like that? See, this book that's a couple of inches thick becomes thousands of kilometers deep when I can pour my experience on it, or else it's just an intellectual exercise. When I have another loving soul, see, when the gift of desperation met the window of the grace of God, and inside that window sat one of you guys, armed with facts about yourself, and you poured your heart on the pages of this big book, and then I got to lay my experience next to it. That's how the big book becomes alive. Okay? So first thing, set aside everything you know. Second thing, make everything personal to you. Third thing, if you have the motive that I'm in this workshop not for me to, this is the wrong phrase, so please forgive me, but it's coming to me, so I'm going to share it, to be entertained. not for me to, right? I'm here because I want to pass this message on, and maybe I may be able to use this method to be more effective as a messenger, perhaps, right? So the third thing, the motive, I'm going to pass this message on. I'm thinking about how would the newcomer receive this? How would the new person receive this? And here's the fourth thing. Only if you choose to, only if you move to. The deepest way for me to have any experience is for me to try it fully myself, which means if you are moved to, when we get to the third and fourth and fifth, 4 steps, actually doing the inventories yourself, actually revisiting the steps yourself. That'll probably be the deepest experience that anyone can have in any workshop. One is an observer and the other one is a participant, right? One is what do you call it? In the stands. One's in the stands, one's in the game, right? So there's 2 levels and everything in between. All right. I think I've said a lot. I think I covered a lot. Thank you for indulging me. My apologies. Next week I won't have to set the table this much. So let's just get started. For those friends that didn't know, I hope you knew because we posted everywhere, you need a clean big book, either hardcover or large print big book. Okay. As it was, I think it was mentioned earlier, if you don't have one today, or if you're gonna miss some of the session or some of the sessions, no problem at all. Please make some friends here, become partners, and your friend can take you through what you missed. Okay. So we're gonna start on page 20. the first paragraph, it says, first full paragraph, it says, you may have already asked yourself. Okay, so we'll do a little bit, and I'll explain a little bit. You need a yellow highlighter, which is important statements, a pink highlighter, which is prayers and meditations and promises. Now, if you have two other color highlighters, no problem. Assign one of them important statements, the other one prayers, okay? No worries, and a pen. So you may already have asked yourself, why is it that all of us became so very ill from drinking? Question mark after drinking. If you relate to that, put the yeses on the left margin, approximately where the line is, right? Question mark after drinking. So we're going to read a bit, and we're going to come back and talk about it a bit. Doubtless you are curious to discover how and why, in the face of expert opinion to the contrary, if you grab the yellow highlighter now, the one for important statements, start highlighting. We have recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body. We have recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body. And if you grab your pen, circle the word recovered. At the end of body, the sentence, put a question mark after that. So were you ever curious how people recover from this illness, hopeless condition of mind and body, right? That's what you got to ask yourself, right? Now, just quickly, just briefly, we circled the word recovered. The word recovered is mentioned, I think, half a dozen times. Somebody said, did I count one time or a dozen times in the first 164 pages? All that means is that I'm brought back to health. Okay, we're not going to get into this big controversy here. Okay, the big book uses the word recovered. We're going to get brought back to health. For example, if I have knee surgery, I've had a knee injury, right? There's a period of time that I'm going to be recovering because my knee hurts. I can barely walk. I got to walk with a cane. I got to go to physio. I got to do exercises. There will come a time where I will recover from the pain of it. Now, I may, for the rest of my life, we'll go to the gym, make sure the muscles, the quad muscles and the hamstrings are strong so I don't get that knee injury again. But I recover from it. I live a normal, happy life now, right? That's all that means, okay? Recovered. Recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body, where I couldn't stop drinking. When I started drinking, I didn't know how much I could drink. I made all the promises in the world that's it, no more. And I kept on going back to it, right? Question mark, yes, on the left margin. If you're an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking yourself, what do I have to do? There's a question mark there. Have you ever asked yourself, what do I have to do? How am I going to get better? Right? Any version of that, you put a yes on the left. So remember, you're taking a new person through this, right? By the way, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to be as laser-like in a group than it is with one-on-one. So please forgive me. The Spirit's going to move me. I'm going to go back and forth to message to the group, message to one-on-one. It's going to go back and forth a little bit, okay? Grab the yellow highlighter, please. It is the purpose of this book to answer such questions specifically. Specifically, very important. With the pen, circle the word specifically, please. This book has a couple of different places. I think we're agnostic to give it another purpose as well. But so to answer all these questions specifically, not generally, that means there's going to be some clear-cut directions, some solution-based stuff, right? Specifically, not a philosophical discussion, specifically. Highlight that and circle, please. We shall tell you what we have done. Before going into a detailed discussion, it may be well to summarize some points as we see them. Okay? So now this paragraph, we're going to put a lot of question marks and a lot of yeses if you relate to it when you were newer on the left-hand side. Now, you ask these questions, these statements, we're going to turn to questions, right? You ask yourself, has anyone said that about me? Or even, we're going to put the bar really low. Have I even thought that about myself at all? Okay, so here we go. And then when we're finished this paragraph, I want to do something. And when we finish this paragraph, I'm going to ask you guys to share specifically on any of these questions. Okay, so it's going to be not a general sharing, laser-like sharing. This statement, this question, this is what I relate to. Okay, so you're going to have your hands up. We're going to ask some sharing. So how many times have people said to us, I can take it or leave it alone. Why can't he? Question mark. There's a question mark there. If you can relate to that, put a yes on the left margin. Why don't you drink like a gentleman or quit? There's a question mark there. If you thought that about yourself, someone said that about you, question mark, yes on the left margin. That fellow can't handle his liquor, question mark. after liquor? Why don't you try beer or wine? Question mark. Lay off the hard stuff. His willpower must be weak? Question mark. My father used to say to me, he was an addict. He still is, 77 years old. God bless his soul. He used to say, be a man. You're weak. Because the way his addiction took him destroyed us, right? His addiction was just destroyed. But he was somehow able to still go to work, right? Opiate addiction. So therefore, I'm not an addict because I can't. So when he saw me that I can't live my life because of this drinking, he was just like, be a man. What's wrong with you? Right? He could not stop if he wanted. He could stop if he wanted to. Such a sweet girl. I should think he would stop for her sake. Question mark. Anybody here? Thought love would be the answer? Oh man, I have some stories, but it's going to take too long. The doctor told him that if he ever drank again, it would kill him. But there he is, all lit up again. Question mark. Okay. So if you are moved, can we have some hands up? And how we're going to go about this is, so if you can relate to any of this, you're going to read it. He could stop if he wanted to. Such a sweet girl, right? This is how I relate to it. This is the example that I relate to. So anybody at all relate to any of this? I want to share quickly. Put up your hands electronically. Kuna, can people put up their hands right now? Okay, perfect. There you go. All right, Frank, do your thing, brother. Samantha, come on up, please. Remember, laser-like, not a long share. Laser-like, not a general share.
Hi, friends. I'm an alcoholic. My name's Samantha. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I totally relate to the doctor told me that if I ever drank again, it would kill me. I was in the hospital. I had put myself there through drinking. I was bleeding out, and I left the hospital and I went drinking right to the bar.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oliver, brother, we would love for you to share. We could video on it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Hi, Oliver. Grateful for alcoholic addict. Yeah, I was just telling a newcomer this story the other day where my heart rate, I used to take a lot of drugs and alcohol. My heart rate, basically, I thought, am I having a panic attack or am I not? And I measured my heart rate and it went down to around 40. And once it went back to normal, it was about an hour before I started using again. After praying to God, please save me, I was using again not long after. So, yeah.
Thank you, Oliver. Yvette?
Yvette, I'm an alcoholic. I can relate to the question, why don't you try beer and wine? Didn't work. None of it worked. Brown, white, beer, wine, none of it worked. So I can definitely, I could definitely relate to that question. Definitely.
Thank you so much, Yvette. We're just going to take one more, Rachel. People that have their hands up, you can keep your hands up if you want. We're going to come to another section again if you want to share. It's up to you. Rachel, please.
Hey guys, sorry about that. My name is Rachel and I'm an alcoholic. So every time I'm going through this and I read this part, she is such a sweet girl. I would think, and I changed that, she would stop for her sake. I had a little girl that was 6 years old that ended up getting removed from my custody, my daughter. And that always hit me hard. And when I'm working with women, I tend to point to that in my life.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Perfect. That's we're gonna move forward. You know what? I've never looked at that line, Rachel, that way. It's always been like romantic stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So there was a question, yes. So you put question mark, you put the yeses on this page on the left margin, somewhere close to it, right? As you can relate to. So now these are common observations on drinkers, which we hear all the time. Back of them is a world of ignorance and misunderstanding. We see that these expressions refer to people whose reactions are very different than others, right? Just ignorance, like don't know. It makes sense. Like to other people, it doesn't make sense that you're destroying your life with your drinking. You're about to get a divorce and lose custody of your kids just because they have the power to do so. So these questions from a place of just not knowing, right? It makes sense. I didn't even get it for years, and I'm an alcoholic. I thought, what's wrong with me? Right? Okay, so here we go. So next 3 paragraphs, pretty important. Moderate drinkers. Would you please circle with a pen just the words, one circle, moderate drinkers. So moderate drinkers have little trouble in giving up liquor entirely if they have good reason for it. They can take it, leave it alone. Question mark. Okay. So on the left margin, do you understand yourself to be a moderate drinker? Okay. We're not asking the question, have you ever been one? But in the totality of your drinking, did you stay a moderate drinker, right? Moderate drinkers, we all know them. They have a glass of wine with dinner. It lasts the whole dinner. Like they drink a beer, they nurse it. They nurse it to the point it gets warm and they leave it. They go get another cold one and they nurse that too, right? Once in a while, on a special occasion, they get drunk, right? Moderate drinkers. So for me, I have a question mark after the word alone and I have a no to the left margin. That's not me. Here we go. Then we have a certain type of hard drinker. Would you please circle a certain type of hard drinker? Circle that entire thing with an oval or whatever, right? With a pen. Notice that they don't say hard drinker. They say this is a certain type of hard drinker. Okay, let's talk about it now. Let's read it. He may have the habit badly enough to gradually impair him physically and mentally. Question mark. You ask yourself, have I ever had the habit badly enough to impair me physically and mentally in any way? Put a little yes in the right margin now. Right or left, doesn't matter. It may cause him to die a few years before his time. If a sufficiently strong reason, ill health, question mark, falling in love, question mark, change of environment, question mark, or the warning of the doctor becomes operative, question mark, just put a big yes to the right margin if any of those things you've experienced from drinking. Ill health, falling in love, while you were drinking, warning of a doctor. Okay, here we go. Here's the kicker. Grab the yellow highlighter. This man, it's important to point out, this man can also stop or moderate. This man can also stop or moderate. Put a question mark after moderate. Now you want to answer this for yourself. When I was in my drinking career, did I fall in love? And was that enough for me to stop or moderate? Did I have a doctor telling me I'm gonna die or hurt myself? Was that enough? Did I change environments? I moved across the ocean. I went to Dubai. I went to Iran. I took me with me. I destroyed everything with drinking. Right? So for me, yellow highlighter, this man can also stop or moderate, question mark. I have a big no right there. Although he may find it difficult and troublesome and may even need medical attention. So they're talking about, I got to see if I see myself in this guy, right? And I do see myself in this guy, but not totally. This guy, what they say, this guy or lady mimics the alcoholic behavior in drinking out there when they're active, right? And they find their ways in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But here's the thing. This man or woman, even though they may need to go to a treatment center or detox or suffer a lot of consequences, there will come a time where the universe will present a reason for them powerful enough for them to just, whoa, are you kidding me? Enough is enough, man. They will stop or even moderate. I have a lot of examples of friends. I'm not going to bore you with them right now. So the important thing is you want to ask yourself, the newcomer want to ask yourself, is that me? Has that been me? Right? For me, there's a big no. There's a big no. Okay, so now the next paragraph, 3 important paragraphs. In this book, there's a few different places they sort of categorize drinkers a little bit. One is here. It's a very powerful one pertinent to what we're doing here. One is a doctor's opinion we're going to cover later. And then Dr. Suckwood even says it's beyond the scope of this book, but here we'll try, right? And then one actually really good place is to the wives with four types of drinkers, and that's a really nice place. Anyway, so but what about the real alcoholic? Here we go. Please highlight in yellow. Only highlight the real alcoholic in yellow or whatever highlighter you have assigned as for important statements. circle your highlight just to make it stand out more. The real alcoholic. Okay? He may start off as a moderate drinker. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker. But but grab the yellow highlighter now, please. The yellow highlighter from at some stage to the end of this paragraph in yellow. At some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption once he starts to drink. Once he starts to drink. That's in yellow. Okay? Put a question mark for yourself. If you can relate to that in your drinking career, put a yes right next to the right of it, just not in the margin, to the right of the question mark. Okay? So the real alcoholic, they're going to introduce us to that, right? What it may be for the newcomer. So what they highlighted in this paragraph is the physical allergy. Once I start to drink, I lose control of it, right? But in the previous paragraph, they also alluded to that I've been sober. People that are sober seem to have all the reason in the world, falling in love, changing environment, doctor, ill health, and they can't stay sober. Okay, so we're going to just describe for the newcomer right now, just give them a little peek of what it means to be an alcoholic. Okay, and notice this, by the way, so we're going to go 20 all the way to just the top of 23 for this section. It is such a powerful first session. I call it like a pre-qualification. If someone is potentially one of us, they're trying to explore, they're going to be able to relate to some of this, man. And it just will, what I found is that the new man or woman, it just captures them. They're like, what? Okay, they want to know more. You know what I mean? So just so you know, I'll mention this throughout the workshop. In the step 1 pages, so there's a lot more people with a lot more experience, a lot smarter than me. They've gone through the big book for years and years and years. And I agree with their analysis that it seems to be from the doctor's opinion to page 43, the end of chapter 3, more about alcoholism, approximately about 53 pages. There's a lot covered, but the main focus is the first half of the first step. 53 pages on, we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol. Physical allergy, mental obsession. Physical allergy, mental obsession, right? So, but what we're going to do is we're going to really efficiently jump around the first step pages and just to get the meat and potatoes of physical allergy, mental obsession. That's where the efficiency of this comes from, first and second steps. Okay, so let's go back to so from the real alcoholic that we circled is highlighted at the top of that paragraph, right? Everyone see it? So I'm going to try to describe this. I hope I describe it properly. So if you please draw a line from that circle, draw a line to the right margin. Now your right margin is clean. Draw a line to the right margin, put a little arrow. Okay. You're going to turn your big book counterclockwise 90 degrees. So now the right margin is facing you. Okay. And you're going to write across now. See this? We're going to write across now. I'm going to show it this time, but next time you'll understand, right? So we're going to write across. We're going to all the way down. Please write this. I'm going to read slowly. So real alcohol, right? There is no reason strong enough for me to stay stopped. I'll keep repeating it. Try to write as small as you can, but big enough that you can read, There is no reason strong enough for me to stay stopped. And then if you run out of room, you come back and you go right below it and start a new line. There is no reason strong enough for me to stay stopped. And then the next line below it, plus, like a plus sign, a physical allergy to continue drinking once I start. Okay? There is no reason strong enough for me to stay stopped, plus a physical allergy to continue drinking once I start. Plus a physical allergy to continue drinking once I start. One last time. There's no reason strong enough for me to stay stopped, as the previous paragraph, plus a physical allergy for me to continue drinking once I start. That's what makes an alcoholic. That's it. There's two things only and two things. not DUIs, not divorces, not jails. Those things may happen to many people that drink abnormally or have other wounds and behave in destructive ways. 2 things and 2 things only. When I start, I can't tell you how much I'm going to drink. When I want to stay stopped, I don't have the ability to commit to that promise, to keep that promise, right? So just introduce us to newcomers. So now, here we go. Next paragraph, we're going to do a lot of question mark. And then the yeses are going to be on the left margin, because on the right margin, we've written something. By the way, what I have done now is instead of a full yes, I put a little Y. You can put the Y right next to the question mark on the left margin. Okay, ready? And then we're going to ask people to share after we go through this next couple of paragraphs. Okay, so just make it personal to you. Here's the fellow who has been puzzling you, especially in his lack of control, question mark. A Y either in the left margin or right next to the question mark, if you can relate. He or she does absurd, incredibly tragic things while drinking, question mark. He's a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, question mark. Do I seem like I have split personalities? He's seldom mildly intoxicated. He's always more or less insanely drunk, question mark. Was that me? His disposition while drinking resembles his normal nature but little, question mark. Have people told me that I'm a totally different person while I'm drinking? He may be one of the finest fellows in the world. Let him drink for a day, and he frequently becomes disgustingly and even dangerously antisocial, question mark after antisocial. Have I experienced my own version of that? He has a positive genius for getting drunk, at exactly the wrong moment, particularly when some important decision must be made or engagement kept, question mark. Friends' wedding parties, birthdays, interviews, promotions, demotions, question mark. He or she is often perfectly sensible and well-balanced concerning everything except liquor. But in that respect, he's incredibly dishonest and selfish, question mark. So as I'm taking a new person on this, like there's a certain velocity, but we let the spirit guide, right? And so the point is not for me to do a whole workshop for the new person. I'm not sharing extensively my experiences continuously. I'm asking about theirs. And if they get stuck, I share mine. Or as the spirit moves me, right? It's because it's about them finding themselves. But I got to share a little bit about myself so they know, right? They can relate. Did I read this? Okay, selfish. Okay, perfect. He often possesses special abilities, skills, and aptitudes, and has a promising career ahead of him. He uses his gifts to build up the bright outlook for his family and himself, and then pulls the structure down on his head by a senseless series of sprees, question mark. Have you ever done that? Bring everybody's hopes up? And then crash their world? Yeah, Terry's give the thumbs up. Here, he's the fellow who goes to bed so intoxicated he ought to sleep the clock round, question mark. A Y to the right, to the left, or right next to the question mark. Yet early next morning, he searches madly for the bottle he misplaced the night before. Question mark. Have you ever done that? If he can afford it, he may have liquor concealed all over the house to be certain no one gets his entire supply away from him to throw down the waste pipe. Question mark. Now, see, it's the spirit of it, right? I may not have put it in the waste pipe. I don't know what that is, right? But have I ever done something similar, right? Hid my liquor so no one gets living alone. Have I done that? Yes, I have. As matters grow worse, he begins to use a combination of high-power sedatives and liquor to quiet his nerves, so he can go to work. Then comes the day where he simply cannot make it and gets drunk all over again. Question mark. Did I try different means to stay away from liquor? Marijuana maintenance program, pills, whatever I tried. Eventually went back to liquor. Perhaps he goes to the doctor who gives him morphine or some sedative with which to taper off. Then he begins to appear at hospitals, sanitariums, detoxes, emergency rooms, any version of that. Have you experienced that new person? And I share a little bit with them and I ask them, and I ask them. Okay, so now for the last one paragraph, one long paragraph this was, right? So for this, can we get some hands up again? Laser-like sharing, right? Very laser-like, very specific, not a general share, and short, okay? Pick one or two questions from this that you can relate to so you can share. Nancy, come on up, please.
Hi, I'm Nancy and I'm an alcoholic. The first question that kind of hit me is he was seldom mildly intoxicated. He was always more or less insanely drunk. I was a 1 and a 0. I was either at work not drinking, or I was not at work and getting drunk as fast and as hard as I could. And that's my laser share.
Thank you, Nancy. Michelle, come on up, please.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, the one that hit me was a positively genius at getting tight at exactly the wrong moment. I had two best friends and I was maid of honor in them, and I was so drunk I was stumbling down the aisle, and because I drank so much before I got there, and that was kind of my pattern. Anytime there was anything like that coming up, I would get drunk first. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Joel, come on up, please, brother.
Joel, alcoholic. Yeah, I just I got elected to a treatment chair recently, and we started doing detox meetings out of the big book, and I'm just really excited because this is one of our main readings, and as you're sharing it, you're hitting note for note kind of what we go through in the detox, and what a powerful experience. So I just wanted to share that experience.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, brother. Just two more, and then we'll jump back in the book. And if you have your hands up, please keep it up, and we'll get you the next round. Maria, come on up, please.
Maria, I'm an alcoholic. I identified so much with he has a positive genius for getting tight at exactly the wrong moment, particularly when some important decision must be made or engagement kept. I was an event planner for 20 years, and I would work for years for one day, one night for a couple. And
oh, you got muted. Frank, would you unmute her again, please?
Sorry about that. So I was an event planner for 20 years, and I would work for sometimes years for one day for a couple, and show up at their wedding always hungover and usually drinking as well. So thanks, Ali. This is great.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. And Lorraine, come on up, please.
Hi, Ali. Lorraine, alcoholic. Yeah, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When I picked up again after 10 years of sobriety, I had a good friend look at me one night and say, "You're a completely different person when you drink."
Thank you, Lorraine. Beautiful. Tom and everybody else, if you want, please keep your hand up. Thank you so much. We're going to jump back in the book, and we'll get back to you for the next round. So beautiful. So, like, if for the new person, right? If this is a powerful first session. If they're relating, if they're at a place where they want help, man, you can't help but like be intrigued. Hold on. You mean they wrote? You know how my experience was when I was ready? I was like, are you kidding me? They wrote a book at that time, 7 years, it's like decades ago, that describes me to a T today. That's intriguing, man. That's really intriguing. So this by no means, we're going to continue page 22. This is by no means a comprehensive picture of the true alcoholic, as our behaviors patterns vary. But this description should identify him roughly. If someone's ready and at that place, they'll identify themselves there. Okay? Why does he behave like this? If hundreds of experiences have shown him that one drink means another debacle with all the attendant suffering and humiliation, why is it he takes that one drink? Why can't he stay on the water wagon? What has become of the common sense and willpower that he still sometimes displays with respect to other matters? By the way, you're going to notice as we go through these sessions, places where we're not going to try to unpack and say like water wagon, if someone doesn't know, we're not going to do that. Usually, unless a newcomer asks me, because we're laser-like focused. We want them to identify to the drinking right now, right? So there may be places where you think, wow, you could really talk about the reason we're not doing it because laser-like focus for the new person. Perhaps there never will be a full answer to these questions. Opinions vary considerably as to why the alcoholic reacts differently from normal people. We are not sure why. Once a certain point is reached, little can be done for him. We cannot answer the riddle. We know that while the alcoholic keeps away from drink, as he may do for months or years, he reacts much like other men or women. Okay? If you grab the yellow highlighter now, or the important statement highlighter that you have, we are equally positive that once he takes any alcohol, whatever, into his system, something happens. We're still highlighting yellow, both in the bodily and mental sense, which make it virtually impossible for him to stop. Stop the highlighting at the word stop. Back then, they observed this. Dr. Silkworth observed this, and he gave us this gift of something happens to you guys when you take a drink, right? Seems to be an allergy, an abnormal reaction. Apparently today, I haven't read the scientific literature. I hear there's scientific literature. They've done research where alcoholics, our bodies, we metabolize alcohol differently. We're missing enzymes that metabolize alcohol all the way down to sugar and water or carbon monoxide, whatever it is, right? There's some technical stuff. There's a step missing in which it creates a craving inside an alcoholic. That's why when an alcoholic drinks, the craving intensifies. The word craving in Alcoholics Anonymous and this big book is used not in the normal sense of the word craving. Like, I'm hungry. I don't have the substance inside me. I'm craving pizza. That's not how it's used. In this big book, the word craving, the allergy of the body is, I eat the pizza, and then I start to crave it more as I'm eating it and eating it. That's how it's used, right? The word craving, that's how it is. So, the experience of any alcoholic will abundantly confirm this. Put a question mark after this, and you're going to go through your own experience. As my experience of when I start, I can't stop when I want to, as that, just put a yes right to the right of the question mark. Beautiful. Now, the last thing is, we'll come back. The last thing for this section, we got a couple of small sections to cover. We're going to come back to page 22, the bottom margin. There's some space in the bottom margin. We're going to do some writing there. As always, please write small, but big enough so you can read it. You're gonna need maybe 2 or 3 lines to write. Okay, maybe, depending how small you write. Okay, ready? So we've done all this. Now I want the new man to write a question, consideration, new man or woman, for themselves, because the depth of their experience comes from their identification with this sacred text, not from my intellectual unpacking of anything. You know what I mean? Right? So please write, can I identify with losing control? Can I identify with losing control? Can I identify with losing control of how much I drink, comma, once I start to drink? Can I identify with losing control of how much I drink, comma, once I start to drink? Comma, one more comma, more times than not, question mark. Okay, I hope you can fit that. More times than not. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for. Can I identify with losing control of how much I drink, comma, once I start to drink, comma, more times than not, question mark. So I put that more times than not there because the person is just new. They're just discovering their relationship and analyzing it with alcohol, right? The brain will start to lie. Alcoholism will start to, well, what about that time? What about that time? No, you just had a couple of beers, right? So let's just set the bar low. More times than not. Let's just start that because we're going to have another couple of chapters, a few pages later on in the following sessions to discover the relationship with alcohol more. Okay? So after the question mark, just put a yes for yourself to the right of that. What happens if a person, I'm taking someone through the big book, first session, right? New person, and they don't say yes to that question, or they don't seem to relate to a lot of it. Couple of options as the spirit moves. There's no cookie cutter thing. I'm always in prayer. I'm always asking God, what's my assignment? What can I do here, God? It's always the prayers inside of me, always, right? It's become a mantra. So the spirit will guide. Sometimes spirit has guided, just keep going through the rest of the first step pages. Let's see, right? Sometimes it's so clear that either they're not one of us, or if they are, there's so much denial, it's just a waste of time anyways. We don't chase the man that is not able to work with us anymore. So I stay friendly, I stay kind. Okay, brother, let's just keep going to meetings. And what I want you to do is that, because this program will be no use to you if you can't relate to the drinking in this way, right? So what we'll do is we'll keep going to meetings together. And I want you to just continue to listen to other people's drinking and see if you can analyze your own drinking with alcohol, relationship with alcohol, and see if you can relate to anything. That's what I'll do. And then see what comes. If they're not one of us, they're not staying. Who would still want to stay? Right? Beautiful. Okay, so that's good. So what I suggest now is to start as we're going through this. There will be some pages that are empty in the back of your book, in the back of the big book, in the back of the book. There'll be some empty blank pages, right? So grab the first blank empty page, and as we go along after each session, just to put yourself directions or table of contents. Because we're going to jump around a lot in the first few sessions. And then if you are moved to just sort of use this method to help a newcomer, right? You're going to forget. Where did we go first? Hold on, what page, right? Because it's not straight through. So what I would do is just put a title, the first empty page, right? Small. The title is directions, right? Number 1, circle the number 1. And then, so I'm going to give you the direction. And from now on, you can write whatever you want, right? So I try to use as much point forms as I can. Shorthands as I can so I understand. So for page, I always put P or PG, right? Page 20, first is 1 ST. First full paragraph as PAR, right? That's how I do it. Page 20, first full paragraph in quotation. You may have already, ... end of quotation. That's the first line, the first paragraph, that, right? So page 20, first full paragraph in quotation mark. You may have already, end of quotation. And then to top of page 23. To top of page 23. And then in brackets, after that, I put qualification intro. Qualification intro. So I know when I'm down the road and I'm taking a newcomer, where do I start? What page, paragraph exactly? It tells me exactly. And so how beautiful this is, that my experience was, so again, I need to remember or copy or duplicate the messenger that was in front of me. I just duplicate the message, right? And then what this does is this highlighting and question marks, and then this table of contents, the new person, when they are ready at step 12, they have a sort of a way to go about doing it, right? They're not as afraid because they have a method. They just go back and, okay, that's what I do. I just follow. It's like paint by number spirituality. So simple. I go here, I go here, I go here. And then God speaks whatever he needs to speak through me and through the new person. The most incredible thing. Okay, so we're good with that. So if you guys don't mind, we're jumping around a little bit, right? So I have a sort of agenda of certain things I want to cover each session. We'll see what Spirit has, right? So the next 2 more things we're going to cover, and then hopefully we have room for questions. If you go to the page at the beginning of the book where it says Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. You can put on speaker view if you want, and you can really see where I am. I'm putting my book in front of the Facebook. So by the way, for friends that don't know, in the top right-hand corner of this entire thing, it says view. You can go gallery view, speaker view, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? So that page where it says Alcoholics Anonymous. What I'd like you to do first, everybody please draw a circle and triangle. What am I doing? I took a picture of this. I was a little prepared on this one. Let me try this one. Okay. Here we go. Everyone can see this? So please start off with only the circle and triangle. Okay, don't worry about the notes so much. So I just wanted to show you, like, that's approximately the size and the center of the circle and triangle that we're doing. Just draw it and then write any notes, Unity Recovery Service, anything you see, just start writing. And we'll come back and I'll read everything. I just want to, so just for those historians and for those that know better than I do, please forgive me if I'm making a mistake, but I understand the story goes that the circle and triangle apparently was part of our big book, like the stamp or whatever, the first few editions, 1 or 2 editions, right? And from what I heard from some archivists, from some elders, is that we lost the copyrights to it or something like that. That's why the circle and triangle is no longer in the 4th edition and maybe 3rd edition too, right? So we're going to draw it back in there. This circle and triangle is a blueprint of this program. It's a map. So it's so important. Once I get the newcomer, new person, those 2 pages, right, to identify, get intrigued, then we go right to the blueprint. We right to the map. I want to have a map. If I don't know where I'm going, I'm lost, right? Because we're going to come back to this map sometimes. Unity Recovery Service. I'm going to have this up and I'm going to talk, okay? So maybe better this way. So, so first, as you see, it says the first promise of hope, it says over there. It says Alcoholics Anonymous, line, under it, it says the first promise of hope. A colon after it. The story of pink, remember the way we use pink is pink. So important statements is yellow, prayers, promises, meditations, all in pink. And it's so useful when new person opens the big book after I see all the promises and all the prayers, right? So this is the first promise of this book, right? Please highlight in pink or whatever highlighted you assign prayers and promises to. How many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism? It's a promise, first promise of this book. Bill Wilson tells us, the first 100 tell us, we're going to recover. We're going to come back to health from this illness, from the depths of despair of this illness. Circle the word recover. Circle the word recover. Okay? So I was told that how I read that is not how many thousand, like how, as in how to. I mean, this big book would meet me exactly where I am, right? God would feed me whatever I need to be fed. And how I read that how is how to. How many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism? This is the story, this big book, right? So Unity Recovery Service, 3-part program. To the left, if you see to the left of outside of the circle Unity, I put a little bullet mark and meetings, that's an and sign, and home group. Meetings and home group. If you're unable to read it, meetings and home group. Below that, a little bullet point, service at meetings. Service at meetings. Below that, 12 traditions. So somewhere around there, please fit that. I hope everyone can see it as well if you put the speaker view. So meetings at home group on the Unity side, service at meetings, 12 traditions. Okay? Unity is where I bring the body to. The meetings are super important. The first part of the program, Unity. Right? I got to go to meetings. Meetings are important. In fact, Bill Wilson talks about in the 12 and 12 somewhere, the traditions, like we believe the alcoholic would not survive without a group. We do this thing together. We. Okay? The bottom part is the recovery portion of this program. Right below the circle, what I've written is bullet point, 12 steps as outlined in the BB, means big book. Remember short form, in the big book. 12 steps as outlined in the big book. That's where the recovery is, the solution is. And below it, I put in brackets, title PG, title page to page 164. That's where the solution portion of this book is. The rest is stories, just like going to open speaker meetings, right? I can relate to. Have I felt like that? Have I experienced that? Can this program work for me too? Okay. 12 steps as outlined in the big book. Title page to page 164. Okay, Unity Recovery. So I want to share some with you guys. When I woke, because I was in and out for 7 years, right? I was in and out for 7 years, and then when I was ready and Donna took me through the big book, I just was on fire, right? And there was a period of time where I guess maybe it's a rite of passage. Everybody goes through this development stage. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just what it is, right? I really thought I knew a lot. and I really thought everyone else was doing it wrong. And then I thought I wasn't so much about meetings and home group. I would hit a meeting here and there. I would just take people through the big book in coffee shops, sponsor people like that, right? And I got really, really sick. Because this disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful, man. Sick, spiritually sick, as in separate from you guys. Full of depression and agitation and anger. And this disease started to talk to me that I'm different than you guys. So from my experience, the steps and the fellowship go together. So meetings and steps go together. The traditions, right? So at this point in time, I'm not unpacking too much about the tradition and everything with a newcomer, right? Just meeting steps. And then the third part, so here, please set aside everything. This may be different than what some of the friends here understand service to be. Doesn't mean it's the only way, but just please set aside, right? If you notice, let's write it first. Service side, we put 12th step. 12th step, colon. And I'm just going to read what I wrote in case you can't read it. Try to fit it there somewhere. With an awakened spirit, comma, carrying this message to alcoholics and being of service to people in our areas of my life. With an awakened spirit, carrying this message to alcoholics and being of service to people in all areas of my life. So, 12th step. There was a period of time where I was told that Unity Recovery Service is the AA structure, GSR, intergroup rep, all that kind of stuff, right? So what was introduced to me by some long timers, that if I am narrowing the service side of this beautiful program to AA structure, I'm cutting myself short. Okay, so that service part, we put in the unity part, service at meetings, service at AA structure, right? This service is with an awakened spirit. I go through this process and this with a motive, with a heart to be a servant, and God will give me things to do. And my service is in the 12th step. I tried to pass this message on to other alcoholics, but wait, practice principles in my affairs, that covers everything else in life, doesn't it? I got to be a servant. In my marriage, as a father, at work, right? I got to be a servant. So that umbrella of service, it covers, I believe it's a lot more broader and deeper in service. And I'm not telling God, because I know friends that have shared with me privately, decades in sobriety. Ali, I've been dying. I'm the GSR, I'm the this, that, I'm the delegate. I'm dying, man. Because I got to keep busy, just be in service, busy. No. I stay in this program. I try to pass this message on. God, how can I serve you today? And God gives me things to do to serve his kids. I got to stay open to that. So please just keep an open mind. Okay. So now to the newcomer, I'm not going to go as depth in that with the newcomer, right? Just the map of it, right? And I want to share with the newcomer that at any time in my recovery, anytime, if I'm for an extended period of time, I'm off, feeling agitated, full of fear, right? I can come to this roadmap and see what am I missing here? What am I missing here? Are there amends that I could be making that I'm not? Am I doing prayer and meditation? Can I build that practice? Have I been going to meetings trying to pass this message on? Do I maybe need to write an inventory in the recovery portion? Am I going to meetings? Am I service up? Do I have a home group that I attend? Do I try to practice prayer, right? So I can see where I'm missing here at any time. It's so beautiful. It's an action program. It doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm lacking in moral character. Literally, action, result. I'm not getting the result for extended period of time. Let's go back to the GPS. GPS, what do I have to do? Where do I have to go? That's the GPS. Right there. Okay. And the last part, the note at the bottom you'll see, please write this. I will only get the promises of this 3-part program, comma, if I'm in all 3 parts. I will only get the promises of this 3-part program if I'm in all 3 parts. Okay? I'm going to stop sharing now. If you didn't get the notes, please find a partner. Make sure to find a partner, okay? Okay, well, it's so much better to see your faces on that page. Okay. Everyone good with that? Right? If I'm in 3 parts. Just like, when you have if a professional photographer, right? They have some very expensive cameras, wedding pictures and baby pictures, right? I understand there's a stand called a tripod that they put this expensive heavy camera, right? So if this 3-part program, if any of these legs of this tripod is a little bit wobbly, is not as strong, maybe if there's not a cloud on the horizon, it'll keep standing. The slightest little brush against this tripod is going to break. My recovery is the same. The slightest little tremor in life, if I'm not fully engaged, I'm not talking about perfectly, to the best of my ability, you know what I mean, in all 3 parts. That's how I get the promise of this program. Steps without fellowship has never worked for me. It didn't work for them either. Right? Okay, beautiful. So it sounds good. And the last thing we're going to do, and then we're going to come to some questions and sharing. Now, if you would please, because I want to get this in here, if you would please go to the beginning of the big book. If there's an empty page at the beginning, just grab an empty page at the beginning of the book. If there's a blank page, just grab a blank page, please. Okay, just grab a blank page. Okay. At the very top left, please, so write the word yellow, or if you don't have a yellow highlighter, whatever color highlighter you have, that's for important statements, write that word, okay? So I have yellow highlighter. I'm assigning it as important statements. You have the word yellow, top left, okay? Put a little arrow to the right, and please write strong statements. So one line, yellow, arrow to the right, strong statements. If you grab your yellow highlighter, highlight the word yellow that you wrote. Or if it's orange for you, highlight the word orange for you, right? Yellow, strong statements. This is for the benefit of the new person, right? In case if okay, yellow, strong statements. Okay, right below that, right below the word yellow, okay, show you what I mean. Okay, can you show you? Okay, here we go. If you put on speaker view, you'll see my page now. See how I've done it, right? Right below the word yellow, write the word pink. Spotlighted, thank you for whoever spotlighted that. Write the word pink. Or if you don't have pink, if you had another highlighter that you've assigned to prayers and promises, okay, like that. So just stop highlighting now. I'll just thank you so much. I'll read it. So the word pink, arrow to the right, please write prayers and promises. Yellow, important statements. Pink, highlighted pink, prayers and promises. And you can put meditations in there too. It's such a beautiful experience to open the big book and see all the pink. Prayers and promises. Okay. So when you right below it, you're going to have some room there. Above, you're going to have some room there. Please write the title, Set Aside Prayer, and then underline it. Set aside prayer. Right below that. Set aside prayer, underline it. I want to give the newcomer a version of that. And I'm going to make sure to let them know, look, whatever version comes from your heart, the words don't even matter. It's if I'm expressing the idea from my heart, right? But please forget, I'm just going to give you one version here that I have, okay? If you guys want to write it down, if not, write your own version, whatever you want to do, okay? Ready? So set aside prayer in the center. We're going to underline, now we're going to write below, okay? God, please set aside everything that I think I know, comma, God, please set aside everything that I think I know, comma, for an open mind and a new experience, period. For an open mind and a new experience, period. So God, please set aside everything that I think I know, comma, for an open mind and new experience, period. Below it, right, the next line, next sentence, to set aside everything that I think I know, comma, thank you, Krista, is also, to set aside everything that I think I know, comma, Dina, you're waving, everything okay? Bina, you're waving at me. Everything okay with you?
I can't
No?
see who's waving.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. No problem. Sorry, I was just moved because someone's frantically waving. Okay, never mind. Sorry. So to set aside everything that I think I know, comma, is to let your light in, period. Is to let your light in, period. Okay. So I read the whole thing again. God, please set aside everything that I think I know, comma, for an open mind and a new experience, period. To set aside everything that I think I know, comma, is to let your light in, period. Everyone can still hear me? Yeah? Wave? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, beautiful. Okay, beautiful. So we got that. Okay, a version of the set aside prayer. We're almost done for today. We're going to come up with questions and some sharing. So below that, give some space. Below that, there should be some empty space. Please write the title, Spiritual Contract. In the center of the page below it, you'd write the title, Spiritual Contract, underline it, and highlight the title in yellow. Spiritual Contract. Also highlight in yellow, set aside prayer, like the title where it says set aside prayer, right? Just want to make it stand out. So spiritual contract. We're going to do a spiritual contract together. Underlined and yellow highlighted. Thank you, Crystal. Spiritual contract. Okay, so now, please write this along with me, but put your name, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, okay? So I have the new person write this contract together. We're going to enter into a contract together. By this is nothing new. This is in the big book a few different times in different ways we'll touch on, okay? So please write this. Write your own name. I wrote Ali. You write your own name, comma, Ali, comma, comma, I'm willing to go to any length for a spiritual experience, comma, in order to recover from the hopelessness of this illness, period. In order to recover from the hopelessness of this illness, period. I, Ali, am willing to go to any length for a spiritual experience, comma, in order to recover from the hopelessness of this illness, period. Okay. Thank you, Kristen, again. Now, if you agree with this for the rest of this workshop, right? Or Mr. Newcomer, Mr. and Miss Newcomer, I know you guys are not newcomers, actually, right? But if you're willing to really give it your all and please sign your name under this. I had the person sign them. I put Ali as before I signed it. I was so willing. I was so willing. And then below your signature, please write the time, the day, the date, and the year. I put my original time was, for me, 3:12 p.m. Friday, January the 27th, 2012. Okay. So now I want the person to be in this. So this contract and that circle and triangle, we may have to revisit sometimes with the new person, right? The person has to be willing. The big book talks about the desire has to come from within. We don't force anybody. The desire has to come from within, right? Now, in the big book, there's a few different places. The big book technicians, please forgive me if I miss something, but I believe there's 3 different places, 2 or 3 different places where they talk about going to any lengths, right? First place is in how it works. Do you want what we have? Are you willing to go to any lengths to get it, right? That's where this contract comes from. The next place is in the step 8 paragraph. On page 76, step 8 paragraph. Remember, they remind us. Remember, at the beginning, you said you're going to go to any lengths. And then the next one is in step 9 somewhere pages. Remember, you said you're going to go to any length. So that's where the contract comes from. All right. So thank you, guys. That's the first session. That's what we had to cover. We're going to go to some questions and sharing a little bit. We have a few more minutes. Just one thing quickly, I forgot to mention. So when I said my last drink was so I have 12 years of experience of just sponsoring people in this way, right? And just evolution of this, and just this, what has been presented to me has been very profound and powerful. Doesn't mean that's the case for everybody. That's just my experience I'm sharing, right? So, but my sobriety is over 7 years. I want you to know that, okay? It's important that you know that. In 2016, I was coming up to 5 years, and I wasn't sharing myself honestly. I thought there was an image to uphold, and my wife went to have minor surgery. She came back home with some Percocets, and I took a couple of pills, and I renewed the next day. So my sobriety is over 7 years, but for the sake of this workshop, I didn't go anywhere. You understand? I didn't take a drink, renewed it. I was in this program. I've been sponsoring nonstop for 12 years. So I'm sharing my experience of 12 years, but I'm very clear what my sobriety is. I'm so grateful for that renewal of sobriety because I became more humble. I became more humble servants. Okay. So thank you very much, guys. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So before we close this up, just we got a few hands up, a few minutes. I just want to give a chance to just quick shares or quick any questions, please. Tom, brother, would you come on up? Tom Clyde.
Here now, yeah. Thanks, Ali. As I say, my 25 years ago, after 5 years of sobriety, my sponsor said to me, "Why don't we do the big book?" And he did just like this, line by line. That was over 25 years ago. And when I saw this chance come up, I was love to do it again. And strangely enough, last weekend, a fellow came up to me with 20 years of sobriety and asked me to be his sponsor because he'd been a while since been through it. So it's all new, so I'm going to work with it. But I'll be away for 2 weeks, but hopefully I'll be able to catch it from Cuba. Thanks very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, brother. Thank you so much. Amazing. Hopefully you get a partner that can help you as well if you can't make it. Matthew, come on up, brother, please.
I just want to say thank you so much for your service. And could you please notify me so I can slide into this 45-year celebration when the next appointment is for all of us here?
It's the same time, same place, same Zoom every Saturday.
God bless you. See you at ORC.
Oh, God bless you, brother. Thank you so much.
I'll see you next Saturday.
Yes, sir. See you there.
Thank
Carolyn?
you.
You just got to
Yeah, I love this. I mean, I've been sober a long time, and this is like getting excited all over again. And it's a little different approach. And I completely agree with people who think that doing service at the, they're in all the organizational things, and they're, I know some, and they're basket cases, but they're on this committee and that committee, and, but 52 years and I'm getting excited all over again. Thank you.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Wayne, my brother, come on up, please.
Hi, good day, Ali. My name is Wayne and I'm an alcoholic. I just want to log on to say that I raise my hand to tell you thank you very much for this workshop. I've already learned so much in just an hour and a few minutes. This new experience is amazing. I've gone through this big book already, I think twice, but I've never taken anybody through it. Because I, like you, I am very scared because I have the power to kill someone. But thank you for this opportunity of this new experience. Thank you very much, Ali. And I like what you said, about, and it was said to me that service begins at the general service level. And then I read from the 12 and 12, and I would not read it, on page 110, what our co-founder said about service. I would just like you to read it, and you will see where I got my information from 20 years ago. Thank you, Ali. God bless you and keep you safe and your family. Thank you very much for this experience.
Thank you so much, brother. God bless you. Thank you very much. Betsy, come on up, please.
Hi, is this the first session of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you just, the set aside prayer? I have, God, please set aside everything I think I know for an open mind and new experience. But then I missed the second part of that.
Kristen's going to put it for you in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.
Carolina, hi. Hi, Carolina.
Hi everyone, my name is Carolina Alcoholic Ali. Thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. And I'm doing my big book with my sponsor and then with a lady who's 35 years sober. So I'm thinking, I've already highlighted everything. No way, I have highlighted so much more today, and your color is green in my being book. But what I want to say, that writing my sobriety date in a big book, and I love that contract, I'm going to use it, but writing that sobriety date, it was crucial for me on the days when as a newcomer, I felt low or, agitated, or I didn't want to do this program. My character defect of pride, kept me in, because I'm thinking there's no way I want to cross that date over and write a different date. So writing that date for me was so monumental in my recovery. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you. A few more hands, and then we'll close the meeting, and we'll stay still for hands and questions. Okay. So there's a couple more hands. We'll close the meeting now so we're a couple of minutes over time, but I'm going to stay. Any questions and comments, please stay. Louisa, come on up, please.
Hi, everyone. Alcoholic Louisa. Thanks so much, Ali. You're such a humble servant. Thank you so much. But I wanted to ask, so I have taken a few through the big books. Do you always start at page 20?
Yeah, there's the method always.
I know, because I started with the preface and then talking about the forewords.
Yeah. So Louisa, yeah, that was basically one of the reasons why I wanted to share this, because I've had that experience, and some people I lose, right? So see, when someone is viewed with this method, we jump around and surgically search out step 1 stuff, and then we go to the step 1 and 2 stuff. We go to the rest of the steps after working with others. When the person is awakened, we come back to the preface and cover all of that. And then the new person, because they've awakened, experienced it, they love the information, the preface and the history, just like, you know what I mean? But at the beginning, it doesn't do anything to move them forward, as interesting as it may be for
That's
us.
true. Yeah.
My experience doesn't mean for everybody, just my experience,
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Marcy, come on up, please. Sorry, Mary, come on up, please.
Thanks, Ali. Mary Alcoholic. It was a great presentation. I missed a little bit. I was a little late. I was doing something else. It was for AA, but so we're meeting every Saturday. And is this recorded?
Yes, ma'am. So we're meeting every Saturday, approximately 12 weeks. We'll see how it goes, right? It is going to be recorded. I haven't. So here's the thing. I was contemplating and praying a lot about the releasing recording. We're leaning against not releasing recordings for a couple of different reasons. I think it'll be a lot less effective for people if recordings are released, because what will happen is that tendency for some people, okay, fine, I'm going to catch the recording. But the experience is being here. That's the experience. You know what I mean? It's not just, so that's why the recordings are not going to be released at a later date after all the 12 sessions, after some prayer and consultation with some elders. If we find that it will be beneficial, we'll release the whole thing. But for now, no. We're encouraging to find partners, and then your partner can tell you what you've missed and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Saturday.
You're welcome. See you next Saturday.
Enjoy the rest of your time till then.
God bless you. Please exchange numbers. Please find a team together. So, Una, come on up, please. Una.
You're close. It's Una Alcoholic.
Hi,
and that last person just covered my question on recording, and that, because I thought maybe I had done it by accident. That's how, excuse the stupidness. But I said I'd stay on to say thanks a million. It's fantastic, and I love your enthusiasm, and it's just great to have such a world of family here on a Saturday afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. God bless you. Thank you for being here. I'm just so grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for allowing this. So Yvette, come on up, please. And we're going to end at Sunny, okay? I'm sorry. I know we're 5-6 minutes over time. Sorry, everybody. If you got to go. Yvette, come on up, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Yvette. I am an alcoholic. Ali, thank you so much. My sobriety date is May 8th, 2023. So thank you for this extra little, some more tools I can add into my toolbox to demystify not just the why of sponsorship, but how to go about doing it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Yvette. Thank you so much for being here. Kit, come on up, please.
There we go. Hi, thank you so much for this workshop. I'm Kit and I'm an alcoholic. My question is, you talked about the spiritual contract with the sponsee. Are you suggesting though that we're introducing that contract right in the first session with our sponsee? Because I'm just wondering, we haven't even talked to them yet about the spiritual elements of the program. We haven't read the spiritual experience page. We haven't, even read the doctor's opinion talking about that. So do you get resistance on that?
Good question. So I'll answer in two parts. One, set aside that experience that you have. Set that aside. Okay? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, when a person is, from my experience, when a person is relating and ready and intrigued and in pain, they're not nitpicking at this word or that word at all. They're just not. If they're really nitpicking and battling me, then they're not relating to a lot of it. So what I do is, if a question comes up, I encourage it, a conversation. I just sort of not gloss over it in a general way. So I'll tell you this, kid. So I haven't had any resistance for that reason, and because the first, I build relationships with people. Like if they ask me to sponsor them a thing, right? So in the first conversation or coffee, I'm telling them about my drinking, I'm asking them about their drinking, and I'm telling them about the program. I'm telling them, this is a spiritual program, it's a spiritual solution. So I think that answers your question better. I've already done that in the first session that I've talked to them about it, right? And at that time, maybe I should have mentioned that, yeah. So, or maybe in the first sitting before the big book opens, or the first session before we make a big book appointment, I talk about that. The spiritual program, this is what works for me. Do you want what we have? Do you want to try it? Do you think I have a problem? So they've already sort of agreed. Thank you for that. That's a good question. Yeah, that makes sense. See, as I'm talking, it's coming to me. Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, kid. Okay. Sunny, come on up, please. Sunny, we can't hear you. Is your volume up on your mic? No, I'm sorry. I don't know I think it's a volume on your mic. Try again. There you go. Try again now. I'm sorry. The volume on your mic, we can't hear you. But next week, okay? Next week. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Eileen, last one. Thank you, Sunny.
Hi. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, everybody. I just have a quick question. You had the yellow highlighter for important statements. You had the pink highlighter for prayers and promises. Then did you have a separate highlighter for the questions or just the question mark?
That's just a question mark. Very good.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Good. Oh, you're welcome. Because you're very sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to thank Kristen because I sent her a message too in the messages.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that question. Yeah. So see, what my original sponsor took me to the big book in an efficient way, as I, it's become even more efficient than that. And she had 5-6 highlighters. It's also we try to make it as little as possible, as just as clean as possible, right? So we can literally, we all know we can highlight almost every sentence of this big book. It's so So what we're going to do is we're highlighting things that maybe that were repeated so many times that are just some things that really pop out. We want to make sure the newcomer considers it, takes a look at it. So that's all that is. Okay. Thank you so much. Kristen, come on up.
Sorry, Ali, just one question from the chat. And it was, do you put the concepts in the circle triangle at the start?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. You could do that. So you could put it, I guess, where the unity part is. I don't usually at that point with a newcomer, but you can if you want. So the unity, home group service at meetings. You could also put concepts. You could put it there. I put all of that in the unity part. All that service stuff in the unity part. All right. Mickey, come on up, please.